Hey, hello, I'm Kråkan, also known as Corvus Cornix, and welcome to Classic Movie Rambles, where I talk about old movies that I found in my closet while cleaning. This week's movie is Terminator Salvation, and it's a science fiction movie from 2009. It's about 1 hour and 59 minutes long. And the movie starts with the machine code and introducing the credits, and then cutting to one of the main characters named Marcus, and he's been put on death row because he has done some terrible murders. So he has one last chance. Basically, he donates his body to science with a kiss, and he gets injected with some kind of fluid, and he supposedly dies. And then there's some text on the screen explaining the plot of the movie, like the humans, this kind of thing called Skynet rebel against the humans, and there is a war, and now there's just a bunch of people left known as the Resistance. And this all happened in 2018. So yeah. And then cutting to John Connor, one of the other main characters, the supposedly savior of mankind. And he infiltrates one of Skynet's facilities, and he goes down into this vault with a team of soldiers, and they find the body of Marcus lifeless, and they also find people that they have been experimented on, or Skynet has been experimented on. So John Connor is like this military leader in this setting, and they also find blueprints for like a new Terminator, like this one of death machines called the T-800, and he goes topside. And the part of his team is dead, so he gets into a chopper to fly away from there, and there's an explosion, and the helicopter crash, and he gets attacked by a Terminator that has lost his leg, and he kind of fights it, and he kind of survives the whole ordeal. And he's the only one that's actually left standing of his whole group that went in to get this information in the first place. So a little bit later, cutting to Marcus crawling up from the dirt and everything, and he gets a resistant jacket he puts on because he doesn't have any clothes. And then Connor goes to command, and it's a diving operation. So for the good guys to avoid the military, they kind of have this, their HQ is basically in a submarine. So John Connor does a surprise dive-in, so he kind of forced them to pick him up. And then he gets interrogated and briefed, and command informs John Connor that they have find a way to perhaps shut down the machine. There's like this wave signal. So when the machine hears this signal, they kind of turn off. So it's like it has to be on a steady feed for them to be turned off. But that probably gives them enough time to, disable them and basically kill all the machines, because they have been in war for so long now. And then what happens is that Marcus wanders around the wastelands. And this is like this kind of weird thing, because Connor goes to see his wife, and he goes through his like old tapes, like cassette tapes that his mom, Sarah Connor, gave him, and her mom mentions Kyle Reese. And then you cut to Marcus wandering to, like, I think it's Los Angeles, and it's like this waste town, like a nuclear kind of fallout setting, which is super cool. The building looks like they're kind of like just scrap metal and stuff, like, he doesn't know what happens. And then he confronts he thinks a person, but it's like a Terminator with this big railgun. And he kind of yells at him, and he gets attacked, and he gets saved by Kyle Reese, essentially a young version of Kyle Reese. But the Terminator gets stuck in one of Kyle Reese's traps, and he gets crushed by a car or some kind of heavy weight. And then Kyle Reese put a shotgun to his face and asked, "Who are you really?" And then Marcus just grabs the gun from him and said, like, "If you're willing to point a gun at someone, you must be ready to pull the trigger." And he gives the gun back to Kyle, and he asks what's going on and what's happening, because he has been out like for years, and he doesn't know anything about the invasion, the war, and everything. So this also works as a plot point to explain to like the viewers like what is going on, to those who actually are new to this concept and universe. And then there's this other little girl that goes with Kyle Reese, which she's kind of mute, so she can kind of feel like vibration and stuff, but she doesn't talk, and her name is Star. So she feels the vibration in the buildings, and one of the AK or HK, the hunter killers, like it's one of those big hovercrafts, comes in to like search for him, and they kind of like one of just shockwave from this thing kind of breaks a building apart, and they kind of lie there and just try to like survive this thing. And back at HQ, John Connor tries out this kind of shortwave kind of thing, and they manage to shut down like a Terminator Hydrobot, and it's a success. And then Marcus teaches Kyle Reese the rope trick. So basically what it does, he ties like a shotgun to his arm, and when he asks Kyle to like grab the shotgun, and of course it's stuck to the arm or the hand, so he can't grab it. So he kind of teaches him these things. I don't think Marcus is a good person at all, but in this kind of movie he gets like a redemption arc, which is kind of cool. And the next morning, Marcus fixes up their car, but the night before they also fixes up the radio. And this is an important detail because just as Marcus fixes up the radio, they actually receive a broadcast from John Connor, kind of applauding or kind of telling the resistance what to do and whatnot. So then Marcus learns about John Connor, so he wants to meet John Connor in person because that's a good lead, I guess. So the next morning, Marcus fixes up a car, but then there is like a dispute on where to go because he wants to go north, I believe, but that will take him directly to Skynet. So there is like this dispute. So they eventually is forced into the car, and they're chased by these kind of drone bots, which kind of funny. See Marcus put up like a tire iron, one of those 4-crossed things, and he throws it into the Hydrobot. I thought it was funny, like with such a force that it kind of breaks it. And they drive down to like I think it's a gas station, and the whole problem with this is like they go into the gas station to look for gas, right? Because the tank is running dry, and they get into this building and they get ambushed by other desperate people. So there's like the guys with the guns kind of doesn't want any part of them because I bet they think they're raiders or something. But there's this kind woman that says give at least the girl some food. And before they even know it, there's like this big machine that comes into the building and it kind of picks people up. It's like a collector, like a big, huge machine that collects people, like really weird. And he puts them into cages and stuff. And Marcus, Star, and Reese kind of hide. And Marcus get the brilliant idea of like driving an oil tanker into the thing to blow it up to save everybody. And then he can't really make the thing go kablamo, so he gets a flare from like from Star, and he lights up the thing, and then they drive out thinking like they basically kind of made it, and then the machine lets out these kind of Terminator motorcycle things that chases them, and they use the like hook of the excuse me, there's like this tow truck, and it has like a hook at the end, and they use it to like grab the motor Terminators and swing them around and break them. And then they get intercepted on a bridge, and they have to like make a sharp turn, and one of the like Terminator motorcycles is stuck to one of the tires. It kind of swings into this hunter-killer kind of hovercraft and breaks it, but that also puts like the tow truck on the edge of the the bridge. So what happens then is like another hovercraft picks up Kyle Reese and Star, and Marcus tries to basically save them. And this is one of those points in the movie you realize that Marcus is not really human, because one of the machines that is somehow attached to the hovercraft kind of tosses him away or something, and he goes like one of those rocks, you throw him at water, they have like this bounce, and he kind of bounced on the surface of the water, so he's like, oh, he's definitely dead, but he's not. And then at HQ they kind of sent off the birds, as they say, like these kind of fighter jets to LA to take care of the machines because they're in their territory or whatever. And one of the female pilots is forced to like eject from her seat. So Marcus gets out of the water unscathed, and he helps the female pilot named Blair down from like a tower. She got stuck with her parachute, and they decide to go see John Connor. It's basically her boss, and they start to travel together. And it starts to rain, and Marcus goes off to do something, and Blair gets attacked by raiders, and she defends herself, but Marcus kind of helps her out, and he basically kicks their asses. And instead of killing one of them at the end, he has a change of heart, and he basically turns into a more likable person at this point. So she's cold, Blair, so they make a fire, and she creeps up close to him because she needs the heat because it's very cold, and she listens to his heartbeat. So Connor tests out the signal on a larger machine, a hunter-killer, those hovercrafts, and it works, and they blow it up. But the machines are kind of smarter than this. They want to attack. The people want to attack like Skynet head on when they know that the signal works, right? But Skynet is a smart learning computer system, so they have basically taken, in this case, Star and Kyle Reese to their headquarters. So it's like they take a bunch of people there, so they won't nuke the sites on those premises, because people won't sacrifice the last of their kind, basically. And then Blair takes Marcus to the base, and they go through like a minefield. So she goes first, but this is a minefield directly designed to like for anti-Terminator kind of thing. So at this point, these magnetic mines, they stuck to Marcus' feet and they explode, and he kind of wakes up and he's all chained, and he's been interrogated by John Connor, and he realized that he is a Terminator himself, like a hybrid. He's part human, part machine. So his heart is actually his real beating heart and all that. And he's very confused about this. But then Connor has like a speech on, you were sent back to kill my mother in the past. And because this series also involves time travel, I forgot to talk about that. So then he remarks on Connor mentioned the name Kyle Reese, and Marcus kind of says like, well, I met Kyle Reese a couple of days ago. If I wanted him dead, I would have done him then in LA. So he tells Connor that basically he's heading to Skynet headquarters. But Marcus at this point is actually a prisoner at the base because he's a Terminator. But so of course Blair doesn't like this and how they treat Marcus, because she kind of likes him. And at Skynet headquarters, the machine room figures out that Kyle Reese is there, and they pick him up and put him in a cage, or kind of like a interrogation booth. They basically keep it like in a little box. And Blair frees Marcus, and there's like this escape scene where they're chased by Connor and other military forces, and Marcus tries to save Blair. Blair gets shot, and he has to like abandon her, and he goes down to a river, and Connor is in one of those like silent choppers, and he drop a bunch of napalm on the whole forest to kill this guy. And so they go down with the chopper and close to the water where Marcus is hiding, and then one of the Hydrobots attacks the chopper, and the chopper crashes into the water, and a lot of Hydrobots swim for Connor, and he can't fend them out basically, so Marcus saves him from one of the Hydrobots, and they have like a discussion forward and backwards, and they kind of mutually agree that he can actually get inside of Skynet, Marcus can, because he's a machine, so he will figure something out, and he will send the location of Kyle Reese to John Connor, so he will basically be able to pick him up there. And then Connor sets Blair free, essentially, because there's no point of having her kept up. And then Connor tries to talk to Command not to fire upon Skynet directly because there are people there, but they refuse and he is relieved of his duties. And he goes to talk to the resistance via radio, not to stand down basically when the Command gives orders, because buy him a little time to do this one thing, basically saving his own father in the present so he can be made in the past, or something like that. That's how time travel works, right? So basically what happens is that John captures one of those motor Terminator thingies, and he goes to Skynet basically, and Marcus enters the Skynet site, and he goes into the mainframe area, he turns off the defenses, and he syncs with the machine, and John Connor gets the coordinates, and Marcus shuts down basically. And then Marcus finds out what happened to him, and there's like this whole setup is that John Connor goes in there, but there's like a trap that the machines have set up, because the signal was really a dud, so the signal won't work when Command really goes in for the kill. So what happens is there is no attack because the resistance denies the Command, and the signal kind of works both ways. So when they used it early in the movie, there's actually a tracker, so the machine finds the Command sub and destroys it. And then what happens is that Kyle Reese defends himself, but there was with this metal rod kind of pierces in through the back of the head of one of the Terminators, and Marcus wakes up and his body is all fixed and stuff, and he doesn't want to be in control, so he has like a control chip in his back of his neck that he breaks out, and he destroys the mainframe, and he goes to help John because that's the right thing to do. So they go down to like have this battle, and John is fighting this Terminator that looks like Arnold Schwarzenegger. It's a kind of a good effect, but not super good. And then what basically happens is that Kyle Reese and Starr and John Connor winds up down in like the Terminator factory, which is cool, where they make the Terminators. And John Connor sends them up an elevator, and he's badly hurt. He sends Starr and Kyle Reese up there, and while this is happening, backup is being sent, and Marcus is forced to like battle this other Terminator, and there's like this drawn out battle, and the Terminator finds Marcus's sweet spot. Well, that's what it is. He finds his beating heart, and he punches the heart, and Marcus goes down, and John is supposed to fight this Terminator along with no weapons whatsoever. So he finds Marcus's body, right, and he uses these kind of broken electrical cables to give a jump start to his heart, and Marcus snaps the neck out of the Terminator. But the Terminator pierces John Connor's heart, and Marcus is forces him up to the surface, to the backup, to the shoppers and everything. And this is one of those heartbreaking moments if you really cared about Marcus, because John Connor, the leader of the resistance now when command is gone, he's dying and he needs a new heart. So at base, Marcus kind of volunteers to do one last good thing. He offers his own heart to save John Connor, proving that he is a nice good guy now. And also Kyle Reese earns his resistant jackets, and this is kind of the end of the movie. Marcus has died for like the third or fourth time, and John Connor's adventure continues because they didn't really defeat Skynet from the beginning. There are more machines and things out there. So what do I think about this movie? It's actually really good. It's one of the first movies I actually bought. One of the first Blu-rays I actually bought for my PS3, and I remember, this is kind of a funny story. I had my PS3 was hooked up via SCART, which is basically just 2 channels of audio and video, and it had a Blu-ray player, right? So I bought a Blu-ray movie because they said like the quality is awesome on these. It's like 4 times better than DVD or whatever. So I pushed this in, and the screen was black and white, and I was so confused. Well, the image is super sharp, but it's just black and white. And then I figured out like, well, okay, Blu-rays use HDMI, and I bought a new TV and HDMI cables and stuff. And the first time I rewatched this in color and this big screen and everything, you can see the pores on the characters' faces, and I was really amazed. I think this movie is actually shot in like IMAX or something, which is one of those like high quality, super high definition kind of scales. I think they used it in like Batman, The Dark Knight too. It's really good cameras. So I can definitely recommend this movie. It's one of like, some of my friends actually call it like, I like that last Transformers movie, like Transformers Salvation, because there has like all these shiny kind of things, and the robots look really cool, and it could have been a Transformer movie for all they care, but I was like, well, it's Terminator, right? You can't go wrong with Terminator. Even a bit of an Arnold kind of CG cameo in there, that's cool. So yeah, thanks for listening and or watching, and take care.